Taurus. This is your July overview, monthly overview reading, where the way that I do these readings is I pull 3 rows. Your first row is going to be how you're feeling and thinking throughout the month of July. And then the second row, it will be your subconscious mind, kind of that 5D reality, that what you may be thinking at a subconscious level. And then, so it's like your feelings and emotions. And then we look at like what you might be thinking and feeling at a deeper level that you're not really seeing because it's at that subconscious level. And then your physical reality is that third row of how that's manifesting, how what you're thinking and feeling and what is deep down in your subconscious, how that's coming to play and showing up into your physical reality into the month of July. And then we're going to wrap it up with pulling 1 card at the end for love, because this is not, I don't do these as love readings, but I do want to include something to give you a kind of note. There's lots of love readings out there, tarot readers out there, so that's not my main focus. So I will go ahead and just pull 1 card there at the end for that, just in case you want to know or have, that, and it's usually I do it where it ties into the overall reading itself. So it kind of does that tie back into that. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Oh, this is a general message that's timeless, even though it says July. People are on different timelines. So it's whenever this message, whenever you find it, it's probably for you. So thank you once again for joining me, and let's dive right in here and get your message for this month of July. So I have for your feelings and emotions, I have scribe and writer, and also with our emoji card, it looks like you might be, I feel like there's a lot on your mind, Taurus, is what I feel. There's a lot on your mind in the month of July, a lot that you're maybe processing or working through. With that scribe and writer, I'm getting that, need for journaling. If you don't journal, it's that processing. When we journal, it's just a form of processing how we feel, how we're feeling and thinking. So I'm really picking up that processing, something in your life, trying to process through something is what I'm getting, especially with that emoji, the way that emoji card came out as well. It really gives me the thought of somebody trying to work through some things. Oh, I think I saw, a card that flipped. Okay, 1 more card for your feelings and emotions. So it looks like you're trying to find your stability, find your ground, your grounding stability. So your baseline, so to speak, in your life is what I'm really figuring out, is like, where am I going next? How do I bring some balance into my life and that's going to be stable and long term, something that's going to that's going to stay in my life, that's going to make me happy for the long term. Yeah, and then planting those seeds. How do I start that? How do I bring this about? How do I, I feel for you, Taurus, this whole month of July is going to be looking at your future and assessing things and going, where have I been? Where am I going? Where do I want to be? Where do I see myself in 10 years, 20 years? What's going to be that, what can I invest in now that is going to lead to my abundance in the future? That's going to give me the stability that I want. That's going to give me the outcome that I want. That's going to bring, a sense of balance and abundance to my life. And really evaluating those concepts and looking at things and saying, where can I invest now that's going to be fruitful in the long term, in the long term over the course of my life. And so I think you're looking at all the things around you in the month of July and seeing, what can I implement? What can I change that's going to lead to, something more long-term, stable and long-term. Okay, we're going to go ahead and look at your soul self. Your soul self is like I said, this is kind of we're diving deep into your subconscious mind, Taurus, like what is at that deeper heart soul level is what I'm pulling on. Okay, the lesson. So it looks like you might have had some, for some of you, some ancestral healing that, and because of that, I'm going to use the healing light deck for your soul self. You might have had some ancestral healing, generational wounding that is coming to play right now, that's coming up to the surface to be looked at and healed. That's not going to be for everyone, but for some of you it is. But definitely it's telling me with this lesson card coming out in your soul level, it's saying, there's something that you need to evaluate and learn, which, when we tie that back to feelings and thinkings and, the scribe writer coming out, and I said, journaling is usually a form of getting, that's a way to bring things to the surface that might be bothering you at that subconscious level. And this is just reinforcing that your soul is telling you, yes, there is something deeper here that needs to come to the surface that you need to take a look at. There's something that you do need to change, that you need to look at and learn, that you haven't yet, that will lead to that happiness and long-term stability that you're looking for in the long term, to balance your life out and bring it more into balance. And it looks like, to me, we're going to look, I might have to do some clarifications here. But it looks like you struggle with a little bit of self-sabotage around love. And I think it's because there's like this, it's like you can't find a balance between your independence and how much you give to a relationship. So it's like you can't find the balance of how much, or a partner that you can find that kind of balance, of where you're not giving too much, it's like you feel, what's really coming up is what you feel in relationships is either, you can't strike that balance between having your independence and giving to the relationship too. It's like you're either giving too much of yourself to the relationship and feeling like you're losing yourself and your identity in the relationship, or you're too independent and so the relationship isn't growing in the way that it needs to because you're holding back and not giving enough to the relationship because you're trying to hold on to your independence and maintain your independence within the relationship. And it's like you can't find that right balance and that right partner, so it kind of leads to some self-sabotage in a way because you haven't figured out that right, you haven't struck that right chord of how much you give and take, and how much you show up in a relationship, and how you stay independent within a relationship context. So I really feel like, and this is just my personal experience, and since it's coming up, I'm going to go ahead and share it, that there isn't any relationship that you should ever feel like you're losing yourself and your identity within. If that's happening, it may not be the right relationship with you, because if you take care of yourself first and you make sure that you meet your own needs. If you make sure that you're happy without anyone, then when you meet someone and get into a relationship with them, if they've done that same thing where they are a person that has learned to be independent and happy on their own without needing validation from another person, you can come together on an equal playing field and still be independent within the context of the relationship, still be your independent, unique selves. And then it's just you enhance each other's lives, and you make both of your lives become better because of it, because then you're sharing yourself with someone because you want to, not because you need to. You're not expecting the other person to validate you or validate your feelings, because you can take care of yourself. So when you give, you're giving purely because you appreciate the other person's existence in your life. You appreciate them showing up for you. So it comes from a more natural place of appreciation and mutual understanding. And I just wanted to share that because it seemed like it was very relevant in context to what's coming up for you, Taurus. So we're going to go ahead and pull on your physical reality, which, like I said, this is kind of how everything ties together, where how you're feeling, how you're thinking and feeling throughout the month of July ties in with what's at a deeper soul heart level, and how that end up manifesting into what you see in your world around you in the month of July. So this is actually very interesting. So you have the commitment card, and I see this twofold. So I haven't pulled any cards to go with this, but I see this being very twofold, Taurus, as the fact that, one, commitment to yourself, which is, you're definitely kind of trying to figure that out. How do you be independent within a relationship, still give to the relationship, but remain your independent self, unique self within the context of a relationship, without becoming either too codependent, without giving too much of yourself where you start losing your identity because you're giving too much to the other person. It's going to be different for different Tauruses out there, but I really see that as, one, commitment to yourself, which again, this is 36, which adds up to 9, which is that kind of independent energy. Again, and yeah, I do love tarot so much. I love it. So you're going to find, you're going to find this fascinating as I do. But in your physical reality, what have we been talking about? And look at these cards that you have. You have the 2 of Pentacles, and it's all Pentacles, no less. The 5 of Pentacles and the 6 of Pentacles. So it's making that choice whether to give or not to give when it comes to commitment, How can you, it's right there plain as day. But also, if you want to look at this in context of even your work life, or something outside the context of a relationship dynamic, as far as like committing to any aspect of your life, it's still going to be, it's still trying to find that balance of how much do you give, even if you're working at, an employee working for a job, it's like, how much of yourself do you give to that job and that company, and still be able to maintain your identity of who you are outside, separate and outside of that job, where that job doesn't become and encompass all of who you are. That's not everything that amounts to who you are. How do you stay, how do you have a life outside of that job? How do you make sure that, it's those kind of concepts that you're going to be working with in the month of July, and trying to figure out, like I said, strike that balance between how much you're giving and how much you're taking, and how much, how do you stay independent within the confines of any relationship. And like I said, this is any relationship in your life. A relationship can be with you and your boss, you and your job, you and a group that you're involved in. It's how do you remain, how do you keep your own independent, unique identity separate from, losing yourself in the context of the whatever it is relationship dynamic that you're looking at in your life. And when you strike that balance, because I think you have a tendency to overcommit, either undercommit or overcommit. And it's still like striking that balance to find the balance of how much to commit, how much to give of yourself, because that's what commitment really is. Commitment is just committing to your time, effort, and energy towards something. It's not commitment. I mean, traditional commitment, you think of marriage, but commitment is committing to something. It's saying, okay, I commit myself, my time, my energy, my precious, valuable time and energy to something. And so it's like, is this worth it? Looking at the value, looking at, like I said, really finding that balance of when you commit to something, how much do you give to it or not? Okay, we're going to go ahead and pull that final card for love. I think this was a really great message. If it does resonate with you, Taurus, and you're feeling, this is kind of where you are and you're having these kind of struggles in relationships in your life, where you're either overgiving or losing yourself in a dynamic, whatever that is in your life, I go ahead and hit that like button and let me know that this is resonating with you. Also, feel free to leave any comments down below so I know, this message is resonating with you. So, so I have for you for the month of July, I have a feeling that love is going to be a little bit difficult for you in the month of July. And it makes sense, because if you're processing things and you're trying to figure out, like maybe you've just gotten out of a relationship where you feel like the person was way too codependent or they were too clingy, or you were too clingy, or like where you're trying to struggle with this concept of balance in relationship, or even in a work environment where you feel like you're working all the time and your life has just become nothing but work. And how do you back off from that? How do you start giving to yourself, and still be able to make a living? If you're struggling with those kind of things, you're probably not, your mind frame isn't going to necessarily be in the mood for love, because you're trying to figure that out for yourself so that you can show up for someone. So it makes sense, the card that you got, that love is not going to be necessarily the first and foremost thing on your mind in the month of July. Because I think you're going to be evaluating relationships that you have already, you're either in currently or in the past, and trying to figure out how to balance out, like I said, kind of balance the situation out of how to remain independent while still giving to the relationship. So that's what I have for you for the month of July, Taurus. I really hope that you liked this message and it resonated with you. I thank you so much if you decided to take your time, your precious time, and join me and listen to this message. Thank you so much. I wish you the very, very best. Joy, love, and light.